Anyone who thinks that corruption in Uganda can be solved is just dreaming. Because in order to solve it, you must deal with the head of state. It is within his household. This is the whole thing.
General David Datinyefuza, aka SSEJUSSA, has come out to say that the only recipe to fighting corruption in the country is to fight the head of state. Uganda is one of the corrupt societies. In fact, Uganda even went a notch higher to even budget corruption in the budget. When you clearly see the supplementaries, the way how our budget is handled, the chunk which General MUSEVENI gets, you clearly see that there is corruption even in the budgetary process aimed at buttressing the dictatorship. Okay? One of the cheap, corrupt leader is General Kaguta Museveni. To an extent that there's a time Betty Kame went on to say that the army should do lifestyle audit. He was blocked by Museveni. Yet in the public domain, there is a day he came out to move that is protesting against corruption. Yet when you read the IGG report, the people who steal lots of money, okay, they end up going to State House. I remember the former IGG Muriagonja came out to say that whenever they could follow up on corruption, the footsteps would end up in State House. So State House has been a conduit of corrupt leaders and corruption deals. So in this episode, I've come to talk about the statements which were said by SSEJUSSA, what it means for our politics, and most importantly, the study materials we can learn from the politics of our nation. But before I do this, I want to let you know that if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. And if you're watching this video from a different platform, please head on to YouTube, type in Sula Mawagali. There's a lot of content of this nature. If geopolitics and economics is what you want, this will be definitely the right channel for you to subscribe to. One, SSEJUSSA is one of the Bushwood general. In fact, SSEJUSSA will be written in the history as one of the people who came out to give a prophecy of the Mose project, which came to light very many years later. SSEJUSSA was the pillar on which NRM was built, even in the bush. Every person who wrote a book, there is no way you could miss out the name SSEJUSSA. He came out to speak about corruption in the country. He came out to say that corruption cannot be fought for as long as we have General MUSEVENI at the helm. And I can conquer with that. Okay? Because corruption is a recipe of buttressing the dictatorship in the country. When you see how money is siphoned right and left and center, a mega project like the War Hospital, it spent years. You just know that billions was passed. Ministers were blocked. The army was guarding the premises. Tell me any powerful person who could do that without a green light from the president. Of course not. So before I proceed, I want to play a tape of SSEJUSSA talking about corruption. Here's the tape.
Anyone who thinks that corruption in Uganda can be solved is just dreaming. Because in order to solve it, you must deal with the head of state. It is within his household. This is the whole thing. So that corruption now is a monster which has created its own power base. Corruption grows into a monster, so much so that no one can control it anymore, because it controls the judiciary, it controls the police, the CID, the prosecution. In other words, corruption becomes a power center of its own. This is what is happening in Uganda. And unless it is tackled at the highest point, there is no way anyone can fight and defeat corruption in Uganda now. Therefore, if you do not do that, as we speak now, there is no way you can talk about even economic growth, economic transformation, and emancipation of our people. It cannot happen.
That is SSEJUSSA. First of all, SSEJUSSA has a point. Corruption, to fight corruption, there must be a will from the president. But remember, dictatorships across the world flourish, one, because of corruption, two, because of intimidation from the army. If you remove one or two, or all of them, dictatorship ceases to exist. And we all know that General Kaguta Museveni would want to cling onto power for as long as it's alive, and will want to use the corruption as a walking stick. A clear example is the 100 million which was given by members of parliament, NRM members. If you have members, for them to pass something, you have to bribe them or to thank them by giving them money. Okay? General Museveni reached a point of bribing his own members. There is no way, for example, like NUP president could bribe NUP MPs to pass something. That means they're not your members. So they flourish in corruption. In fact, for me, I keep on telling people that corruption is a beautiful name. These are thieves who are stealing taxpayers' money. You cannot tell me that classified budget was passed to go in State House, which is almost 400 billion. What is classified about State House? Even big countries like America, even if they are going to buy arms, they put them in a budget. Arms. What is classified about buying arms? What's classified about intelligence? Okay, it's a scheme of corruption. So I concur with General Datinyefuza that corruption will never end in our country, Uganda, for as long as we have the NRM leadership. In fact, when we shall be writing history, the NRM regime will be one of the most corrupt regime in Africa, Europe, Latin America, and some parts of Asia. That's the truth. So, if such voices are heard, maybe we can get emboldened to fight corruption. It's the reason that's why corruption here in Uganda, they just catch people who have stolen 100 million, 20 million. Yet the people who steal billions are never caught, because we all know, Muriagunja told us that the footsteps ends up in State House. Okay? I remember when Sam Kutesa was caught in Choga, he went to the court, and courts came out to say that the IGG office was not fully constituted. That case died there. People who steal real money are never caught. But do you want to tell me that if General Museveni wanted to catch these real thieves, you cannot catch them? Your guess is as good as mine. So corruption and NRM are like this. And they will end the day we shall end the NRM dictatorship. And we also build strong institutions to fight the vice. Of course, that's my opinion. Do make comments by commenting about this. Thank you very much for listening in. If this is your first time on this channel, employee would subscribe, like, and comment so that I can be motivated to do more of such videos. I'll see you on another one. Peace.
Gabyankizo netufuna kye tuyigamu engeri gye tufiiriddwa sijja kwogera nnyo enkya kuziika muganda waffe tusuubira mwebale nnyo bambi kubeera wano ne mukungobezaako maama ne mumugumya nange ensawo y'okuziika nabadde nagitaddemu dde ekintu nsookedde wa maama naye era nja kwongera n'enkya tugende tuwerekere muganda waffe neeyanza nnyo neeyanzeeko okumpa kuno omukisa okwogerako nammwe.